Hello, my name is Selimi. I'm human behavioral expert, internationally known as the See-Through Coach. And today I have with me Paul McMonagle, whose story is inspiring millions of people around the world. And it's not any ordinary story. It's an ordinary man doing an extraordinary thing for humanity and for so many OCD sufferers, but in general, mental health sufferers around the world. Welcome.
Thank you, Tony. Pleasure to be here.
So, Paul, tell us more about, in a short 2-3 paragraphs, the reasons behind you stepping into an unknown territory about mental health, but also OCD and epilepsy that millions of people around the world suffer from.
Yeah, that's true. I was looking up the other day, there's 50 million people around the world with epilepsy. And over 250 million, that's a conservative estimate, of people suffering with OCD. And in a couple of short paragraphs, I decided to change how I was looking at my OCD and my epilepsy by working with you, and starting working with you 3 years ago, because I knew what I was going through NHS treatment wasn't working. Basically, it was something inside me that just said enough's enough, and I was sick and tired. Basically, I was sick and tired of something I knew wasn't working. But in this country, we're taught to trust doctors and trust people and believe you'll get better. And I just knew I wasn't, and I found you, and it's been incredible since I found you how much I've progressed and improved and transformed.
But let's go back to how you felt originally dealing with OCD, because as you said, millions of people around the world, they're not voicing what's really happening inside of themselves. So what was happening to you before you really came to a point in your life where you actually had to take action?
I was suffering in silence. I wasn't talking to anyone about my OCD apart from the psychologists and the counsellors I had to see. I wouldn't tell my family. I never told my family anything for over 20 years. I kept it very secretive, as a lot of OCD sufferers do. But I also found self-destructive behaviours, coping mechanisms.
Such as what?
So I turned to alcohol. I became an alcoholic, and I became addicted as well to the prescription medication that was prescribed to me through my GP for my...
In specific?
So I was on 4 times the normal dose of the drug. Like, normal person would be on 50 milligrams of the drug I was on, sertraline. But I was on 200 milligrams, and I became addicted to it because it just numbed everything out.
Through all that time, did you ever think about reading the side effects of the drug?
No. I trusted the people that I was seeing, and I never ever read the side effects of the drug. And some of the side effects that I did know about the drug was it would make me tired, lethargic. I would sleep a lot. I could sleep like that instantly while I was on that drug. And I remember when I first started taking that drug, I couldn't move out of my bed for 5 days. When I first started taking it, my whole body, skin colour changed and went grey, and I couldn't move. Basically, it felt like a concrete weight on me, pinning me to the bed for 5 days.
So, what are some of the syndromes and symptoms of people suffering with OCD and other mental-related illnesses that you've gone through that other people in the world right now are experiencing?
So some of the syndromes and symptoms is you become very introverted, you become quiet in your nature, you might adopt mantras like I did, like, you don't know what I'm going through, because I never told anyone what I was going through.
So linguistically people will say, you don't know what I'm going through. So they'll be hiding truly what's happening inside of them by speaking and saying words such as that in day-to-day conversations.
OCD, there's visible forms of it. So I had visible forms where I would check things. I had a counting where I would check everything 7 times, but I also suffered from puro, which is more internal, and it's thoughts, intrusive thoughts which you ruminate on. So I had intrusive thoughts regarding Could I violently harm people? Could I murder people? Am I capable of that?
Mm-hmm. And how did that make you feel? Because, you know, for any person out there who may not be aware of the pure OCD and other forms of OCD, surely people with OCD will relate to you. But just tell us more about the rest of the people out there who'll be watching this video, of how that makes you feel when you have intrusive thoughts such as harming other people, and what is the effect of that in your life?
Yeah, so what it was, I would have a thought, I would maybe walk by someone in the street and I would have a thought, go and murder that person. And I don't want to do that, but the thought would become trapped in my mind, and I would ruminate on it. I would constantly think about it, saying, is this me? Do I want to do this? Do I really want to do this? Sometimes I would walk past the person and I'd get 200 yards down the street and I'd stop and I'd turn back to make sure, and come back to make sure that I hadn't done anything to the person. Because you really begin to doubt yourself and you lose all your self-confidence, your self-esteem. And people who don't suffer from OCD find that hard to understand, because to them it's just a thought, but to someone with OCD it becomes trapped in your thinking, and you, as I say, you ruminate on it, and basically you can't stop thinking about it, and you think, is this really me as a person? And is this, have I got to live with this for the rest of my life? Have I got to go through this? Because basically my life felt hopeless and worthless because of that. I was still trying to operate as a normal human being, go to work, pay my bills, do my best at work, but at the same time I had like a split personality where although I was doing this at work, at the same time I was constantly thinking about this form of OCD.
So what was the cost to you? For many, you know, you openly share with the world the amount of years that you actually suffered in silence, and clearly with going through a lot of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, self-harming thoughts. What was the cost to you?
The cost to me was financially thousands of pounds. I found when I was drinking and drunk, the thoughts would alleviate and they wouldn't affect me so much. But I also knew I couldn't stay drunk for the rest of my life. It was killing me. So I've been through alcohol detoxification 12 times, including a hospital detoxification to stop me going into delirium tremors. And I would miss work because I'd be in the pub. So I would be in the pub for maybe a week when I should have been at my work. And I was losing out on maybe £1,000 that I could have earned at my work, and I was spending maybe £500-600 in the pub during that week. It was costing me a fortune.
There are many people out there with mental illnesses and also with OCD who might find, who may say that they can't afford an expert to work with them. What do you have to say to them?
I simply don't believe that's true. If you really look at where you spend your money and where you have your values and what you spend your money on, you can find ways to bring this value into your life. So I've had people say to me, I shouldn't work with you, you're too expensive. But I've always found the money to work with you because I value what you've given me, because you've saved my life. And you can't put a price on saving someone's life, and you can't put a price on what I've learned about myself in the last few years and how I've improved and how I'm not introverted anymore, how I can speak about this and share this openly with the world, with people in the street.
Yeah, I mean, I've had these questions by many people saying, how do you get so many of your clients to speak openly about their problems? Because clearly some people see it as the confidentiality issues where people almost like hide away from being able to openly, transparently share what they're going through with the world. So what was it in you that inspired you to share your story with others?
Because I know how many people out there are suffering, not just with OCD, with multitudes of mental health illnesses. I had a lot of mental health illnesses: depression, anxiety, panic attacks, mania, hypermania. The list was endless, as we've spoken about. And I know that when these people suffer in silence, their families suffer in silence as well, because I cut off communication with my family, with my parents, with my brothers, because I wouldn't speak to them about it, and when one person in a family is in pain, it creates pain throughout the entire family, and it's a ripple effect. And it also rippled into my friends, because my friends knew I was in pain, but they didn't know how to approach me or how to talk to me about it or how to support me. And they would basically just see me out getting drunk and out try to destroy myself, basically.
So, what do you think about, I mean, how important it is what other people think and the judgments of other people in making you feel better or worse?
Yes, so for years I was too scared to talk about any of this, because I based my thinking on what other people would think of me. And I came to a point in my life where something happened and I had to move away from that thinking. I also came to a point in my life where I just don't care what people think of me anymore. And it's very liberating to be able to speak this way and think that way, and just be authentic and be yourself and be genuine and share. And it really does feel like it's liberated my spirit and my soul and my whole being by being able to do this. And I feel fulfilled and empowered by doing it.
And how important do you think it is being able to speak your truth, your inner truth, in the corporate world, in the environment in which you operate? Because you're working in an industry which is very, I would say, male-dominated.
Yeah.
So, and we as men are not renowned for being able to emotionally connect with one another and speak about issues which are extremely important, not only for our mental health sake, but also for our families, for the jobs we do as leaders, decision makers, and people who actually go out there and do work for other people. So how important is that?
Yeah, I've found it isn't something that's really spoke about. It is becoming more recognised, and people are opening up a bit more. I have found working in oil and gas industry that people really don't talk about their mental health and what they're going through inside. And I think it is extremely important, because it ripples into the company, it ripples into how you perform, how you communicate, how you produce. It affects the company, it affects every layer in a company. If you have employees who can't communicate what they're going through because they might be scared that people will judge them, or it might hinder their job prospects, so they sit in silence at a desk, they don't communicate, and that costs time, it costs productivity, it costs money. More companies are now recognising this, and for me it must cost companies millions of pounds. A massive company will cost them millions of pounds, the economy billions of pounds.
Yeah. So you've been doing this work for almost 2.5 years, and I've seen you, as we mentioned earlier on, about the different breakthroughs that you've created. And as somebody who's been your teacher, educator, and your coach, I remember the first time I met you, how introverted you were. And there are so many people out there who call themselves introverts. So one piece of advice do you have to those people out there who may label themselves as introverts, knowing you were one when you started this journey?
Yeah, and just try and find an area in your life where you're not an introvert, where you are communicating with people openly. So you might see yourself as being introverted in an area of your life or at your work where you don't want to get involved and you pull back from it. But you might, in another area of your life, you might be a family man, you might be a father, and you might be great at being out in the park with your kids and showing them life skills, showing them things that will help them, where you're not introverted in that department of your life.
What keeps you going?
What keeps me going is
because many people would have given up by now. As you know, I'm a tough coach. And people say, on one hand, I kiss them on one cheek passionately, on the other hand, they feel like they've been hit passionately as well. But what keeps you going?
What keeps me going is I want to attain perfect health. I want to attain pain-free living. When I first seen your talk and you spoke of pain-free living, that really struck me. I thought, what is that? and I'd like to attain that pain-free living, because there's so much pain in my life which no longer exists.
Yeah.
It's dissolved, it's evaporated, and I love to work. I love the hard work. I love waking up every day. As you know, I wake up at 1 a.m. every day and I meditate for 3 hours, and then I work from 4 a.m. till...
Which is your favorite meditation?
I like Inner Doctor.
Uh-huh.
I like the Inner Doctor meditation.
Yeah. Awaken your inner doctor. So for any viewer out there who may be going through any form of physical or mental, emotional illness, they can download the Awaken Your Inner Doctor from iTunes, or they can go on my website. They can get the whole TJS meditation solutions. And how important has it been for you to help you instill the daily practice of meditating?
It's been massive. It's allowed me to come off medication. So I stopped my medication over 2.5 years ago, 6 months into working with you, and I replaced it with meditation. And I mean, I only sleep 3 or 4 hours a day, and the meditation has given me the energy I need to carry on during the day with everything else I have to do. So as I say, I meditate from 1 to 4 a.m. and then from 4 till 6 I'm doing inner work on myself.
Yeah.
And then I'm at my work from 7 till 4, 4:30, and then I come home and I continue with the work I have to do till 9, 10 a.m.
What principles have you learned through this journey that you use on a daily basis to support you to manage your OCD, your negative thinking, your daily habits, your daily energy, and also how you perform at work?
So, principles, I can now, we're often taught to think positive and to ignore negativity, just think positive. But now I listen to my negativity because it's telling me something, and if it becomes too negative, where can I change this? You've given me so much control over my mind now, because OCD used to run my mind, but now I'm taking back control, and I can change the thought, I can change the behaviour, I can change the action to one that's more productive for me.
So how are you using the 25 principles of the TJS evolutionary method in Path to Wisdom, which you've become a great promoter about the work because you're using those principles? How is that supporting you on a daily basis? You know, what is it about the methodology? Because we've been working on that. Only on the methodology to help you on your healing journey to attaining perfect health, but also taking control of your mind.
Yeah, so it's allowed me to become a better listener of myself and of others. Also the language I use, my language is cleaned up a lot, and that's cleaned up my thoughts a lot, and they've become like more pristine.
Yep.
My thoughts they shine more. They used to be so dark and cloudy, and now they've got light in them and they shine.
So for somebody who's never heard about me or about my books, what do you have to say to them? Let's start with Path to Wisdom.
Well, this was a book here. This was a book that ultimately led me to you and ultimately changed my life, because I read one paragraph in this book, and when I read the paragraph I recognised that for OCD, for me, that a lot of people think OCD is outside them and it's attacking them, like an outside force attacking them from out with them. When I read that, I recognised that OCD was all within me, and that I was creating it within me into my outer reality.
Yeah.
That's when I read that paragraph in there 6 months before I met you. That was when it changed for me. After 20 odd years of thinking one way, my thinking changed to another way. It became more internal for me, because this is what this has been. It's been an internal journey with you.
Yeah.
So for me, it was relationship. But really, the relationship I was having with myself.
Yeah.
Not with other people, but really a relationship with myself, and how I communicate to myself, how I talk to myself, how I think, and as you say, we've managed to clean so much of that up.
So as you know, I love to support and challenge my clients. So what were the 3 most challenging moments on this journey of integrated coaching with you to help you really get into perfect health and really resolve the many issues we've been working on in the last 2.5 years?
So the one that comes to mind, the biggest challenge, was when you asked me to write 400 benefits of being mentally ill and having a mental health illness such as OCD. So you asked me to write 400 benefits and 400 drawbacks, and I remember saying to you, 400 drawbacks is no problem, I can go through that and do that no problem. I says to you at the time, there isn't any benefits to being mental health, and you challenged me on that, and you gave me a few examples, and then I recognised, yeah, there is. And then I went away, and it took me 2-3 weeks to write the 400 benefits, and then that was when I managed to break free from what you call a skewed perception or a lopsided perception of seeing our mental illness as being purely bad.
Yeah.
I managed to balance my perception of it.
I
managed to balance my perception of it, and I never looked on it the same again.
Yeah. The second one?
The second one, challenge would be when you asked me to first make a video.
Mm-hmm. And now you're an expert in it, sharing openly.
Now I share openly, and I found that a challenge to make a home video and talk about what I was talking about, because a lot of other people don't talk about these types of things. And now I love sharing, and I love being on camera and doing stuff like this. It's great.
And the third one?
Third. Maybe you need to give me a hint, but third. Biggest challenge. Communicating with people.
Mm-hmm.
Just being able to communicate with people authentically, and not being scared of who I am and sharing who I am.
Yeah.
And just being me and being able to share it, and how I couldn't do that for 20 years, and how now I've found it so liberating to be able to do that.
And why is it important for you to share this story with the world?
Because I know if your work was integrated into health systems worldwide, NHS in the UK, but health systems worldwide, people would really transform, they would really heal, they would get better, and they would become less introverted, they would open up and they would share more, they would find it easier to talk.
Mm-hmm. And what do you have final words for our viewers in here from Paul McMonagle, who kindly is sharing his integrated coaching journey with me to help him go from where he was to actually where he truly knew he could be?
So for the viewers, it would be if you're a person who is really struggling and feeling lost and lonely and unsure of just what to do with your life, because I felt like that until I found Tony. Just contact Tony, pick up the phone, give him a call, and your life will transform. It will get better, it will improve. My life's just amazing now, and it's great.
And is there any favorite quote that I use that really helps you every single day?
Yeah, when he first says to me, I was telling you about my intrusive thoughts, and I used to always judge them as right or wrong, and you says to me one day, is this loving to you? Are these thoughts loving to you? And I was like, no, I judge them as right or wrong, but they're not loving to me. And I'd never heard that before. I've had anyone say that to me before. And that was says to me, I just recognised it straight away, and I thought, no, these thoughts aren't loving to me.
Yeah.
And that was a big breakthrough on its own.
And before I let you go, you started to write a book about OCD that you're considering for us to co-author.
Yeah.
Okay. In a paragraph, what is the intention behind co-authoring a book about OCD?
The intention for me is to authentically share my story, but also to help others, for people to read it and see that there is another way of transforming your thinking, how you think of an illness, and by reading that, being able to see that for yourself and adopt it into your thinking, because we had to develop completely new paradigms of thinking for me to progress the way I've progressed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's something like Albert Einstein says, you can't solve a problem with the same thinking that created it.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what we had to do. We had to create a new paradigm of thinking.
And the methodology is exactly that. It's actually providing a tool and principles people can use every single day to really create a new paradigm of thinking, of feeling, of behaving, of acting, of communicating, of leading, of managing, and also of creating a reality in which more people feel content, fulfilled and purposeful in their life. So for me, the book that I'll be co-writing with Paul McMonagle is actually help not only the OCD sufferers, but really look behind what happens in our subconscious mind when we go through certain mental illnesses, which in parallel with the modern medicine, being able to provide a better solution for people to go on a healing journey to create perfect health, so they can actually be more healthy, more wealthy and more wise in the choices they make, the way they live their life and the way they experience their own reality. And from St. George's Square, I would love to say thank you and I love you for your commitment, not only to your own journey and myself as your mentor and coach, but also to many people out there who you've been inspiring consistently from the moment we met. So thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Thank you.